Alright everyone, NPC Unknown here, and welcome to the channel. With most studios having calls with their investors recently, there's been lots of news about new games and what studios are planning for the future, and with that there's been lots of news from Capcom. So let's have a look at what they've been saying in their investor call. So the first one is that Capcom may actually be revisiting some dormant games. So obviously Capcom is one of the most famous game companies in the business. The Japanese developer and publisher was founded in 1983, and it's responsible for iconic video games such as Street Fighter, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, and the Resident Evil. While they keep releasing these bigger games, especially stuff like Resident Evil, that has had a bit of a renaissance in the last couple of years with Resident Evil 7, the remake of Resident Evil 2, the more mediocre but still popular remake of Resident Evil 3, and obviously Resident Evil Village. Devil May Cry had Devil May Cry 5 a few years back, and it was probably the most popular one in the franchise, and an absolutely amazing game. There's been a lot of IPs they haven't touched for a long time, and an article includes stuff like Okami, Power Stone, and Lost Planet, yet doesn't mention something like Dino Crisis. During a call with investors, Capcom was asked about dormant IPs and if it had any plans for them, which the response was, "We're currently putting together plans for our pipeline based on demand data from the market. Going forward, we will continue to take customers' wishes into consideration while devising our title lineup." They continue, "Some series in Capcom's back catalogue have not received new entries for some time. This includes Beautiful Joe, which last saw a new title in 2005, the hardcore fighting fans' favourite Darkstalkers, which hasn't had a remake or a remaster or any new entry since 1997. Similar, the 3D fighter Power Stone hasn't had an update since 2006. Third-person shooter saw its third entry in the series released back in 2013. I didn't actually play the third one, nor the second one, but I thought the first one was solid enough. Capcom is hard at work on a completely new series, the company announcing the title Pragmata in 2020, its first total original game in a decade, and it's set to release on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC in 2013. The second piece of news that came out was that Capcom launches a website to celebrate Dragon Dogma's 10th anniversary. So Dragon Dogma is an open world RPG published by Capcom. Players take the role of Arisen, a customizable character, as they're set on their quest to defeat a dragon. This was released years before the Monster Hunter series gave fans a proper open world. Dragon's Dogma was Capcom's first attempt at providing a wider gaming space for players to explore. For its efforts, Dragon Dogma was met with positive reception from both critics and a wider audience, with many still praising Dragon Dogma as it reaches its 10th anniversary. While May 22nd was the official 10th anniversary of its release, Capcom has designed the entire month of May as a celebration of 10 years since the game's creation. This news comes from a new website unrevealed by the publisher to celebrate its anniversary. The website first gives players a short trailer showing off gameplay from Dragon Dogma before treating fans to messages thanking them for taking up arms against the dragon. "We are forever grateful for your support throughout the years," reads the website's homepage, "and we hope you enjoyed this momentous celebration of Dragon's Dogma." There isn't much information on what the momentous celebration will include, but fans are anticipating a potential announcement of Dragon Dogma 2. Considering the first game came out nearly 10 years ago, and the Summer Game Fest to replace this year's E3 is on its way, it's possible Capcom is gearing up for a sequel announcement. Other fans were less hopeful about the possibility of a sequel. While they believe an announcement was on its way thanks to the website, they feel that Capcom will simply re-release a version of Dragon's Dogma on newer consoles. The game has gone through a fair amount of re-releases. Back in 2013, re-released as Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, an enhanced version of the original game, which was later ported to PS4, Xbox One, PC in 2016. Whether there'll be an announcement for Dragon Dogma 2 is currently unknown. However, it is likely that Capcom will reveal something at this year's Summer Games Fest to match the showing of Xbox, Bethesda, and Sony. No matter the result, Dragon Dogma will remain a love game that helped begin a trend of difficult fantasy games similar to Dark Souls and Elden Ring. And the last piece of news from Capcom is that they have confirmed significant increase in new titles for 2023. So as part of their annual financial reporting, Capcom confirms the 2023 fiscal year will see a marked increase in new game releases. Global pandemic, or the global bastard that we've had to deal with the last couple of years, has been harsh on certain aspects of the gaming industry. Shifting a massive office to remote work is no simple or cheap matter. Capcom is one of the studios that has been heavily impacted by this change, leading to significant delays in its plans. Since 2020, Capcom has come back strong year after year, increasing game releases as well as sales, according to their financial reports. Capcom's unit sales plans for the fiscal year 2023 shows that the game publisher not only plans to release significant more games in the next year, but also that the sales will follow. While it's unclear if Capcom will have regained its footing compared to its pre-2020 data, nevertheless predicting unit sales to increase by over 40% compared to the first year of the pandemic. That increase comes large part down to essential increase in new titles launching. In 2020, Capcom released 35 new titles, including SKU's So Difficult version of the game for different platforms. Rather than unique game releases in 2021, that number decreased to 14. In 2022, it was 24. These lower numbers were all but certain to have been due to the pandemic, increasing the amount of time necessary for every area of the game development. In 2023, Capcom plans to ship 45 new titles. As for what Capcom plans to deliver in 2023, the one new release confirmed right now is Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, an expansion for PC Switch RPG that leaves a significant number of titles yet to be confirmed for the upcoming year. Possibilities include the recently announced Exoprimal co-op multiplayer game, the Capcom fighting game collection, the sci-fi adventure game Pragmata, Resident Evil Village DLC is also on the way. Beyond that, the possibilities branch into speculation. If Capcom fans let their imaginations run wild, it's easy to think of exciting possibilities. Street Fighter 6 is a long-rumored game that could launch in the next 12 months, as is a potential sequel to Dragon's Dogma, as I mentioned before. Other games include the massive Capcom leak from late 2020, planned 2022-2023 Mega Man Match, a Resident Evil 4 remake, Monster Hunter 6, Resident Evil Apocalypse. So that's just some Capcom news from me. Which old franchise would you like them to bring back? And from me to you, the NPC Unknown, this video is game over.